Hello and a warm welcome. Thank you ever so much for stopping by my YouTube channel. We are looking at a beginner tutorial for those people wishing to practice or get used to making the traditional granny squares. So let's get going. I've got several elements of the video that we will talk through, and hopefully it will clarify any questions that you might have as you start your journey in making granny squares. Okay, so this basic pattern comes in the kit, the Beginner Granny Square Tutorial Kit, which has got all the written instructions there for you. It's got approximately 20 to 25 meters of yarn. You have a little bag with your yarn darning needle, in there just to keep it safe. And you have your hooks in there as well. It's not always colour coordinated, but it happens to be today. And of course your larger project bag here, so you can keep everything together so nothing gets lost or misplaced. So this is what we're working on today, and this is going to be, oh, beg your pardon, let's just pop that back up there. This is going to be the square that you'll end up making. So there are 4 rounds. And as mentioned earlier, we'll have the setup ring here, and that's what you'll work into when you set your first round. And then you'll work your second and third and fourth rounds. And you can see the little chain spaces in the corners and chain spaces between each of these clusters. So when you hear me say cluster, that's the group of 3 double crochets that you see here. And it's the same on both sides, so it's reversible. This piece here is your starting thread, which you will weave in later. You can pull it up a bit tighter and cinch up this little hole here, but you'll weave that in afterwards, and you'll use your darning needle for that. Okay, so that's what we're looking at making today. We have a 6mm hook today. I've chosen this purely because it was comfortable in my hand, but you could start with a 5.5 or even a 5. I have a pair of scissors, snips, and my darning needle, so I can weave through my ends. In this crochet pattern and tutorial, we will be showing you how to create a traditional granny square with the turning method. Now this is a winning technique, and it prevents the square from twisting, and it helps maintain its shape. You'll end up with a cleaner and neater looking square. Crocheting a square isn't as difficult as it seems. This basic granny square pattern is the perfect beginner level project, and it's suitable for new crocheters. You can learn multiple basic stitches simultaneously while creating beautiful projects in an interesting manner. This simple square is a versatile pattern, and it can be used in lots of different ways for bags and Afghan blankets, pillow covers, table runners, sweaters, you name it. Now, thinking about the crochet hook that you might want, if you are starting out and you're learning, a crochet hook based on a size 8, which is an American size, or 5, 5.5 or 6mm, are good hook sizes for beginners. You may want to get a soft grip handle maybe when you become more confident and you want to spend a little bit of extra money. They're really great. They give you a comfortable experience and stress-free crochet. When you're looking at the size of your crochet square, you're going to perhaps wonder how big it's going to finally become. Now that's going to depend very much on the hook size and the thickness of your yarn, and also possibly how tight your stitching is. You can go a couple of rounds, 2 or 3 rounds. You can make them much larger, but a traditional granny square normally consists of about 4 rounds, maybe 5. Using the worsted weight yarn today and a 5mm hook today, I'll show you just how big that granny square can become. While there are many variations on how to make your granny square, this classic granny square is going to be worked from the center, and it's going to expand out into 3 and 4 rounds. Each round consists of clusters, which are multiples of 3 double crochets, and then it's going to have a chain space in between. The basic stitches you're going to need, therefore, are a chain stitch, a slip stitch, and a double crochet. So when you hear the terms that I use for the stitches, I will be using US terms, American terms. Now, we can begin the square in 3 different ways. You could use a magic circle, you could just use a single chain, or you could use a chain ring. Now, the chain ring method that we will use, it's about getting a slip knot onto your hook first and then making about 3 or 4 chains. And then what you do is you just slip into the very first chain that you made, and that will form a little ring, and that's what you work into. Now, thinking about trying to keep your granny square in shape, obviously as you're a beginner, your tension is perhaps going to be an issue for you. Sometimes you'll be crocheting loosely, other times tightly, and as you're getting used to holding the hook and holding the yarn, that can vary. But there's certainly one thing that you'll find with this particular tutorial. I'm going to place 2 chains into the corner spaces, and that helps give you a much more sort of cornered edge, and rather than being rounded or crooked. And crooked work can sometimes happen, and it happens often when you're working in one direction. So as I mentioned earlier, we're going to be turning the work and working sort of back the other way, so that will help maintain the shape. And what you end up with is a wrong and a right and a wrong and a right and a wrong and a right side, and that alternates, and that means that you could have that piece when you finally finish your project any which way up, it wouldn't matter. You can also keep your granny squares straight by blocking them afterwards, and that's gently, you can either gently steam them, being very careful not to touch the fabric, or putting them onto a little block of foam and pinning it into place, and then just gently wetting it and letting it air dry. And when you're pinning it into shape, you're getting the perfect square shape that you would like. You could do that, but it's not necessary for this, because as we turn and work another round and then turn and work another round, it tends to maintain the shape really, really well. So we'll get started and we'll look at how you set up first, and we're going to set up by making the foundation chain ring. Okay, so this is the yarn that I've chosen to use today. It's a chunky or sort of an Aran weight yarn. It's made in Yorkshire, so it's a nice yarn to work with. I like the fact that it's slightly thicker than a normal double knit or 3-strand yarn. It gives me a little bit more of it helps me work a little bit better, and it helps me with my tension. So as a starter or a beginner with these crochet granny squares, you might find a thicker yarn is helpful to you. So I'm just making a slip knot, and I'm putting it on my hook here. There we go. Let me just get this out of the way, and we'll make a start. So I'm going to keep my thread down here for the moment and my hand out the way, and I'm going to make a chain of 3. So I'm putting my yarn over the hook and pulling it through that first little slip knot. So that's 1. Yarn over my hook, pull it through, that's 2. Yarn over my hook, pull it through, that's 3. So you end up with a 3 chain here, and then see the first chain that you made? We're going to put the hook back through there. We're going to wrap the yarn over the hook and pull that through, and then we're going to make a slip stitch by literally just pulling it straight through. And you end up with, it's not that loop there, it's just there. There's your center, just there. And we're going to work into that center. That's our center loop, our center ring. Okay. So what I would like you to do, I mean, I'm getting my finger in there so I can so I can see it more clearly, and that's how I sometimes start. It sometimes helps when you're first starting. And I'm just going to make a chain of 3. 1, 2, 3. Now this chain of 3 is your first double crochet, or it acts as your first double crochet. And the reason why we make 3 chains is that's roughly the height of a double crochet stitch. So then we want to make a double crochet. So we're going to yarn over. I normally put my finger here just so things don't slip away from me. And I'm going to put my yarn in the center. There we go. You can see the hook come out the back. I'm going to put the yarn across the top of the hook like that and pull it through. There we are. holding on to everything here in this hand, and I have 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to put the yarn over the top of my hook and pull through 2 of those loops. I have 2 loops left. I'm going to put the yarn over the top of my hook again and pull through the other 2 loops, and I'm left with just 1 loop on, and I've finished my double crochet. So that's 1 acts as a double crochet, 2 double crochets. There's my loop. I'm going to make another yarn over my hook, hold on to my thread so it doesn't run away from me, put my hook into the center, comes out the back. I'm just going to place my yarn over the top of my hook and pull that through, back through the center, yarn over my hook and pull it through the first 2 loops. See how I keep using my finger to hold down? It just helps keep things where they should be, really. Put your yarn over the hook again and pull through the last 2 stitches. Okay, and there we have a 3 cluster, or a double crochet cluster of 3 right there. Now, as we're going to be setting up this for the following rounds, we want to turn this into a corner. We're going to add 2 chains, 1, 2, and then we're going to start the 3 double crochet cluster process. Again, this time we don't need the chains, we can just work straight into the circle. So yarn over, go straight into your circle, wrap the yarn over the hook and pull that through. You have 3 loops on your hook. Wrap the yarn over the hook, pull through the first 2 loops. You have 2 loops left on your hook. Wrap the yarn over your hook, pull through the last 2 loops. There's your first double crochet. We're going to do that one more time. Yarn over your hook, holding onto my yarn so it doesn't slip away from me. Put the yarn through the ring. Make sure your yarn goes across the top of the hook and pull that through. You have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over your hook, pull through the first 2 loops. You're left with 2 loops. Yarn over the hook, pull through the last 2 loops. There's your second double crochet. We're going to make 1 more double crochet. Yarn over your hook, put your hook through the center, it comes out the back, and wrap your yarn, or make sure your yarn comes across the front of your hook as you pull it through. You have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over your hook, pull through 2 loops. You have 2 loops left on your hook. Yarn over your hook, pull through 2 loops, and you finished your 3rd double crochet. So already we're starting to get a little bit of shape. Okay, we're going to make another corner now, just like this one. So we're going to chain 2 again. 1, 2, and we're going to continue working around. I'm going to make another double crochet, and another double crochet, and another double crochet. So we have 3 double crochet cluster just here, and 2 very obvious corners. We want to make another corner here, so we're going to chain 2 again, and we're going to make another cluster. We want 4, we currently have 3. 1, 2, 3. Just pulling that yarn out the way. Okay, so yarn over your hook, hold on to it there so it doesn't slip around, put it through the center, comes through the back. Make sure your yarn cuts across the front of your hook as you pull it back through. You have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over your hook, pull through those 2 loops there. You have 2 loops left on your hook. Yarn over your hook, pull through, and you finished your first double crochet. We want 2 more. Now if you find that you want to slow this video down, just go into the settings at the top of the video, and you can choose to maybe reduce it to half speed or 3/4 speed, if that helps you so you can see things better. We have our last corner here, but we need to chain 2 in order to create that corner. Now we want to join. Now when you're looking at your double crochet stitches, there's the post of it, and the V at the top shows you where to put your hook next. Okay, now that V tends to sit sort of almost at the top, but it's slightly to the right hand side. And this one here, there's the post of the stitch, just about on the top, this slightly to the right hand side. So it means that this next one over must be your original chain 3 that you made. 1, 2, 3 chains. And we want to slip into here. We're going to do a slip stitch. So just holding on to this loop here so it doesn't slip away from me, I'm going to go into there, poke it through the back, yarn over the hook like so, pull it through, but then pull it all the way through the other loop on your hook. And that's a slip stitch. Okay. Now it's not quite square, it's a little bit rounded here, and it's a bit square there, a bit rounded there. But as we do the next lot of rounds, you'll notice this comes into shape much, much better. So this is where we're going to turn the work. Now you can decide to turn there and continue on. What I like to do is my chain 3, 1, 2, 3, then turn. I just feel like I'm not all fingers and thumbs when I do that. And that's considered my first double crochet, which means I need to put some more in here. Now this is the corner. So what I'm going to show you now are a chain and 2 double crochets. Then I'm going to make 2 chains, and then I'm going to make another 3 double crochets. And all of those stitches combined will make your corner. Okay, so here we go. You've done your first double crochet, so to speak. We're going to make another. That's 2. And another. That's 3. And we need a corner space, so we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and then we're going to make 3 more. 1, 2, 3. Wow, look at that. That's definitely a corner. So chaining 2 spaces there makes it very clear. There's no doubt that's where you're going to put your corners. Some people like 1 chain in the corner, so it's entirely up to you. But I suggest that as you're practicing your granny squares, put 2 chains in the corner space here. It just makes it a little more obvious for you to see. Now, with this particular pattern, we're going to chain 1 to give us a little bit of space before we do our next corner. And this chain 1 little bit of space is something we're going to be working in a short while. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 2 chains, 1, 2, 3. We want to repeat the same thing here. So yarn over the hook, through your chain 2 space, out the other end, wrap the yarn over to pull it through. You have 3 loops on your hook. Wrap the yarn over and pull through 2. Wrap the yarn over and pull through 2. We want 2 more. And then we want to chain 2, just as we did here. Now 3 more double crochets. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so there's a cluster of 3 double crochets. There's your chain 2, and there's another cluster of 3 double crochets. Then we chain 1 to create a little bit of space before we do our next corner. Now you might notice that I'm doing a lot of twisting with my hands, and that just helps you get the hook into the right position when you're doing all of this. So try and relax, try and loosen your wrists up and your elbows, and that will help you direct your hook as you're going through. Okay, just a little tip. All right, we're going to go for our next corner. So that is 3 double crochets. Oh, I caught beg your pardon, I caught the top of that there. Let's try that again. 2, 3, then 2 chains for the corner space there, and 3 more double crochet. Okay, chain 1 gives us a little bit of space for us to move over to this side here. 3 more double crochet. 1. Now, don't be too bothered if you can't pull through 2 all at the same time. Go through the first, then go through the second. That is completely fine. Yarn over, same here. You don't have to pull them through all at the same time. You can go through the first and then the second. It's still going to get you to where you need to be. Let's try that again. 2, 2. Then chain 2 for the corner space and 3 more double crochet. 2 and 2. There we go. Yarn over, 2, yarn over, 2. One more. Yarn over, 2, yarn over, 2. Then our last chain 1 before we need to slip stitch to the beginning again. Okay, so let's have a look at what we have. There's one post there and the top of the stitch. There's another post there and the top of the stitch. And so this last piece here must be our 3 chain. 1, 2, 3. So I'm just going to go into the top there of that chain 3. Pull my yarn through and through. Okay, that's our second round. That's not bad going. We've got some definite sides and some nice little corners here. Okay, so we're going to remember turn our work again, but I want to set up first. 1, 2, 3. That's just personal for me. There we go. So I've done my first double crochet and I've turned my work, and we can see quite evidently that we have a space here where we put our first cluster. Now this is along the side, it's not a corner, so all we need is just a 3 double crochet cluster. So we're going to do 2 more double crochet in here. 1, and 2, and then remember we need chain 1 space to get ourselves across to here. We want a corner, so there's 1, 2, and 3, and chain 2. Please excuse the aircraft flying above. They're on manoeuvres today, I think. Right, here we go, 3 more. 1, 2, 3. There we go. So there's another corner. Then you're going to chain 1 again, and that chain 1 gets you across to this space. So we want 3 double crochet in here. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. Then chain 1, that gets you across to this next space, and we want our corner. So our corners are 3 double crochet, 2 chain, and 3 double crochet. Just slowing down a little bit for you. I don't know if it helps, but I also like to hold the project a little bit in my hands like this too, and hold quite firmly, not too firmly, but hold firmly here. It just helps me as I'm working. 1, 2, 3. Chain 1 to bring us across to the next space, so you're along the side. 1, 2, 3. Chain 1 to get you to the next space, which is a corner. You can see that there. It's quite obvious. See how your corners start moving up this way? So that's how they will progress. So we want 3 double crochets, 2 chain, and 3 double crochet. So there's 3, that's your first cluster, chain 2, and 1, 2, 3. Here we go. Okay. Then we chain 1, which helps us to move across to this next space here. And we put a cluster of 3 double crochets in here. Chain 1. That gets us to our next corner. We want 3 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, chain 2, and then 1, 2, 3 double crochet. There's our last corner. We're going to chain 1, and then we need to slip stitch to end this round to the top of the chain 3. So there's my first post there with a stitch on the top. There's my second post there with a stitch on the top, which must mean that this stitch there is the top of my chain 3. So I'm going to go in here and slip stitch by bringing the yarn over, pulling through, and then pulling straight through. Okay, wow. All right, so if you're still with me, this is what you should have so far. Okay. Now, if it is your first granny square or first of a few that you're practicing on, please don't be worried if it's sort of a little bit wobbly out this way. Remember, I mean, just gently tugging on your corners does miracles for straightening it out anyway. And that's purely because, you know, you're bunching up stitches in these little spaces here. Sometimes just giving it a bit of a tug helps to even all of those out. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3 rounds from the center. There's your center. It's 1, 2, 3 rounds. We're going to do one more round. So you can either turn straight away and then chain 3, 1, 2, 3, or you can chain 3 first and turn, entirely up to you. Okay, so we have a space here quite clearly marked with the gap. So we want 2 more double crochets in here. There we go, that's our first cluster. And then chain 1 in order to move across to the next space. Then we're going to make a corner, which is 3 double crochet. Two chain and 3 double crochet. Okay, and we're just going to continue around, so I'll just talk that through. Chain 1, 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, a corner, so that's 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, chain 2, 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, corner, 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, chain 2, 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, corner, 3 double crochet, that's 1, that's 2, 3, 2, chain, 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3 to complete your corner, chain 1, have 1 space left, 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, don't ever forget that chain 1, and then you slip stitch across. So there's the post with a stitch on the top, there's your other post with a stitch on the top, which means that this stitch must be the top of your chain 3. So just slip stitch into the top of that chain 3, and there's your last one done. I'm just going to pull all that through. Now, if you wanted to add a colour, because some people like to switch things up a little bit and continue around, you could do that. And I do have instructions in the pack here for doing that. So I might just quickly show you that. There are 2 ways, and the way you decide to do it is entirely up to you. So the first way is just to pull that through and secure that, and that would be the end of that round. And then you cut your yarn and weave the tail through. And then you would just pick a corner. Now I normally pick a corner sort of the opposite side. You'd pick any corner and you'd start in this corner. So let's have a look at that, shall we? I've got some yarn here, contrasting colour. It's like a change in colour, variegated type of yarn. It's about the same thickness as well. Don't use a different thickness because it will make your stitches sit unevenly, so try and get the same thickness. We're going to make a slip knot like we did at the very beginning. I'm going to put that slip knot on my hook. I've left a little bit of a tail here so that at the end I can weave that through without any problems. And I'm going to treat this corner like any other corner. Okay, I'm going to go in first of all and just slip stitch, and that just secures my slip knot onto this corner. Okay, we want 3, 1, 2, 3 chains, and in order to complete my 3 double crochet cluster I need 2 more double crochets. So there's 1, and 2, chain 2, and do another 3 here. Oopsie. Oh dear. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so there's my first corner in a new colour. Do my chain 1 to get me across to this next space, and as usual make another 3 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, chain 1, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, work across to the next space, 1, 2, 3, chain 1. Just while we're here, actually, you can see it nice and clearly in this colour. Along this side here, on our 4th row, we had 2 clusters along the side. So you've got your corner, 1, 2 clusters, and then your other corner. This time we're going to have a corner and 1, 2, 3 clusters and a corner, and it will gradually increase like that. Then it will be 4 and 5 and 6, and it will grow in that regard. Okay, so we've done our chain 1 here. We want our corner, so we need 3 double crochets, 2 chain, and 3 double crochets. It's 2, 3, chain 2, 1, 2, 3, and chain 1. We're moving across to the next space. 1, 2, 3, and chain 1. Just going to pull this yarn through. I didn't do that before. There's not very much of it here. There we go. So now you've chained 1 and you're ready for your next space, and this is where you finished last time. Now I'm just going to pull my yarn across here. I can work over the top of that, and you would just treat this as a normal space. So we want 3 double crochet in here. 1, 2, 3, chain 1, and across to the next space. 1, 2, 3, and chain 1. So you can't really tell that that was where you finished off, other than your yarn, but once you've woven that through, you're not going to be able to see where you'd colour changed. Okay, so the idea here is then, with this particular colour change, is to end this colour, pull your yarn through, weave it in, and then I normally start the opposite end, add your yarn in, and complete the pattern as normal. Okay, so there is another option for you. Now let me just undo this. The second option, which this takes just as much practice, it's not any more difficult or any more easy, but what you have to think about is what this stitch is going to look like on the top. So I'm going to pull this last double crochet out, so I've only got the 2 there. And the idea is you start your stitch in this colour and you finish the stitch in the next colour. Okay, so let me show you. Yarn over, pull through the first 2, then drop the yarn behind. Just drop that loosely behind. I sometimes hold on to it on the back there. Pick up this yarn, give yourself a little bit of a tail for weaving in later, and just place it on the back, just holding it there with my index finger. Okay, and then pull those through there. And so the top of your stitch is still the old colour. There it is there, there's the top of the stitch. But you've pulled through the new colour ready to start. So you slip stitch into the top of the chain. And you're ready to start. 1, 2, 3. Turn your work and put 3 double crochet, or 2 more double crochets in here. So you've got a 3 double crochet cluster. Okay. Now the only thing with this is the biggest difference is you'll have this yarn and this yarn to weave in the same sort of area. This one will be woven into this colour and this one will be woven into this colour. Whereas if you start sort of the opposite end in a corner, you'll have one to weave in up here and one to weave in down here. Okay, so that is it. You can just keep going until you've used up the yarn that is in your starter pack. Or just, you know, you've got the bug now, and I'm sure you've probably been looking at all sorts of yarns online and in the shops. Get yourself some extra colours, some bright colours, some pastel colours, whatever you fancy, and practice those granny squares. Now you can attach these together. You can make big blankets. You can make jumpers even out of these. You can do table runners, you can do hot pads. If you do these in cotton, for example, cotton absorbs heat really, really well. And so if you make a nice big one for your hot pans and your hot dishes in the kitchen, they make amazing hot pads. So there you have it, all done. Now, if you have any questions, please comment below. You can email me as well at funkyfreaks@yahoo.co.uk. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. And if you would like a beginner granny square tutorial pack with everything in it, with your yarn, the instructions, your hook and your darning needle, then just drop me a line and I can get one of those out to you without any problems whatsoever. So happy crocheting, and thank you very much. If you're interested, there is a granny square blanket video that I have, which shows you step by step how to use a granny square in order to make a beautiful baby's blanket. You'll find that on my Funky Freaks YouTube videos page, so pop across to that and have a look at that for a little bit of inspiration. Thanks very much for watching, and share and like this video, and let everybody know, let your friends and family know, and if you think they'd be interested, give them the link to the video, let them know they can get hold of a pack. It'd be great to share the love. Thanks very much.